meeting is ready to begin. Yes. We take things into our own hand, literally, when we are missing our gavel. So welcome to Golden Speakers Toastmasters of Fairfield. It's Tuesday evening, 7:45, actually 7:48. We're starting just a tad late, so we want to get on right on that. We're here at Hy-Vee. We are at the end of the ice cream aisle, the west side of the store, in the community room. We're here every Tuesday night, and we want to welcome everyone who's here. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce our president and let him do our honors. So please help me warmly welcome up Dennis Comez.
Thanks everybody. Welcome, honored guests, fellow Toastmasters, and viewers at home. Glad to have you all here. Mission of our club is Toastmasters. The mission of a Toastmasters club is to provide a mutually supportive and positive learning environment in which every member has the opportunity to develop communication and leadership skills, which in turn foster oral self-confidence and personal growth. It's our mission and our duty as Toastmasters to do our best to make sure everybody grows in these directions. To begin our meeting, we will be having a lot of table topics most likely today. We will be having one announcement we'll be talking about later towards the end of the meeting is that we have our club contest coming up next week. So if that's something we will be needing some plans about. We will also be having an announcement from Marco at the end of the meeting. Without further delay though, let's talk to you as guests. Please introduce yourself briefly and what you look forward to learning in Toastmasters.
I'm Luke Rogers, originally from Portland, Oregon. Moved to Fairfield about 6 years ago to go to college, and yeah, I love it here. And in Toastmasters, I just look forward to improving my confidence in my speech in public and clarity and diction and all that stuff.
Good to have you, Luke. Thank
you. My name is William Freitas. I'm in a similar position to Luke. I came to MUM 7 years ago, and I'm here to learn about communication and presentation skills, and here to see how things work in the Toastmasters. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for having me.
Hello everyone, my name is Shivali Jain. I'm from India. I came to Fairfield in April and I'm a corporate student in MUM. And I came here to Toastmaster just to improve my public speaking skills. I look forward to that. Thank you.
Then, Marco, did you want to take it towards the end? Okay. Jean, everybody, let's give a warm welcome to Jean. She will be introducing everybody, the role players, our Toastmaster Jean Symington Craig.
Okay. It looks like our theme for the evening is overcoming defeat. Dan pointed out to me that last week's was something about achieving victory. So we seem to be on same coin, two different sides of it. So tonight we're going to be, looks like we're going to be laboring, which is appropriate since Labor Day was just yesterday, to be overcoming defeats and then achieving victory. Okay. My job is to run the meeting and make sure we're all on track. And to start that off, we're going to hear from our role players who keep our meeting running smoothly, and we'll be giving various reports and input. Our first role player I'd like to call on would be Ryan Prana Miller as our timer. Prana, would you please tell us how you'll be timing our meeting tonight?
Yes. Yes. Timer, one of the most important roles. I will be achieving victory tonight, and the way I'm going to do that is by keeping track of all of your times. I guess the word isn't victory, the word of the day is epiphany, but I had an epiphany about a second ago that I was going to keep track of all of the times perfectly, and I'm not, and none of you are going to go over. So anyways, table topics are 1-2 minutes. The green light is turned on at 1 minute, and the yellow light at 1 minute and 30, and the red at 2. You have 30 seconds of grace period for all the speeches, whether the table topics, a prepared speech, or an evaluation. So once the red light goes on, you have 30 seconds until I'll start clapping. And for the table topics, you have 1 minute, like I said, for green, and then 1 minute and 30 for yellow, and then 2 minutes for red. So when you're speaking, just look for those lights, and there's a minimum of 1 minute for table topics. Prepared speeches are 5 to 7. I believe there are only 5 to 7 minute speeches. So at 5 minutes, I'll be putting on the green light. At 6, the yellow, and 7, the red. And again, you have 30 seconds after that until I'll start clapping. Clapping is a good sign that you've gone over time. And evaluations are 2 to 3 minutes. And that will be 2 at green, yellow at 2.5, and then red will be 3 minutes. And I'll give a report at the end of the meeting.
Okay, now I'm going to clarify just one little thing that Prana said. There actually is good clapping, and then there's bad clapping. Good clapping is what we're just doing, and you'll do a lot of that tonight. We'll be clapping because it always makes everyone feel very supported and appreciated. So you can follow the rest of the guests. You can follow when we're clapping. Just go ahead and get that going. If the timer starts clapping, however, that means you have gone over time. So don't start feeling good. You should start feeling bad right at that point because you've gone over time. Okay, so Prana's clapping is not good. Although he's usually technically very good at clapping, but I'm just saying, it's not a good sign. Okay, so our next, I am also having an epiphany that Marco is our grammarian. Of course, it's right here, so maybe it shouldn't be an epiphany, but there you go. Marco, would you please tell us about your role and give us the word of the day?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Marco. Welcome, guests. The word of the day is epiphany and means a sudden intuitive perception of or insight into reality or essential meaning of something. So my role today will be to make sure to pay attention to use specific sentences. There are certain kind of language that it's beautiful. That I don't know how to explain this. That just certain kind of language sentences they're going to be beautiful. So I'll try and I'll put a report at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
And you'll also tell us if there are areas for improvement if someone has a language that's perhaps not so good so we can all learn. Right? Okay. I know it's hard. It's really hard, but that's how we learn. Our odd counter is going to be Will Burns. Will you tell us about your position? Your role.
Thank you, Jean. As the odd counter, my job is to keep track of any filler words used during the meeting. The reason we do this is so that we can improve ourselves and add impact to our speeches. I will also give a report at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Will, I was just wondering, because I was actually looking at this, did you give some examples of what they are so people know what filler words are?
Some of the examples already used are like, you know, so, and tongue clicks, repeats, false starts. Thank you.
Okay, there's a lot of different ways we fill in spaces that we're not comfortable having just be silent, and Will's going to be counting those. Thank you for the example. Sometimes it helps to just get the neurons in the right firing. Do we have anyone who has a joke? Because we seem to be missing our joke master for this evening. We did that funny one last week. Oh my gosh, that was Prana. That was so funny. Well, I don't know. It's a little dicey. I walk the edge. Yeah. So.
Sign me up, I'll take something.
He is the one.
Okay, but maybe 3 feet back from where that one was. Okay, yeah.
I got it.
That one had the sensors sweating.
I was sweating.
Yeah, all right. Okay, well, thank you very much. We will have a general evaluator later in the session, and that will be Art Atkinson. We are also going to have 2 table topics evaluators because we're anticipating a longer, lively table topic session. So we'll have Susanna and Lewis. Yes, Art?
I also have a joke if you need one. It was very clean.
Very clean.
I voluntarily offered my role as a comedian to.
All right, well, okay.
We can have a bidding war.
You're going to be
You can
general
have
evaluator. You're going to be up here a lot, but,
I'll be your backup, Art. I'll be your backup.
okay. All right, good, Art. All right, so Art it is. You humorous dude, you. All right, we're ready to move on to our speech. We did have one speaker who had a unavoidable, evidently, conflict. So we only have one speech tonight, but it's always good to hear from our president. So we're looking forward to that. His evaluator, we're going to start right in. His evaluator is going to be Fraser Jones. And Fraser, let's warmly welcome Fraser. He'll read the objectives.
Good evening, fellow members, visitors, and viewers at home. Dennis Gomez will be giving the prepared speech. He'll be giving it from the Competent Communicator Manual. He's on Project 7, which is research your topic. And the objectives of this speech is collect information about your topic from numerous sources, carefully support your points and opinion with specific facts, examples and illustrations gathered through research. The time is 5 to 7 minutes. Dennis' title tonight will be You Snooze, You Win. Dennis is from Fargo, North Dakota, and he enjoys soccer and nature. Without further ado, I introduce Dennis.
Last week, how many of you, raise your hand, felt a little tired in the afternoon? You started to feel that afternoon lethargy from time to time. Everybody, a lot of people feel it, and majority of you really need to know there's a major epidemic all over the world. A modern major epidemic. It's sleep deprivation. Tonight, I'm here to inform you of the issues surrounding sleep deprivation and how it's affecting us as a society. I'm going to talk about how it's hurting performance in the workplace, with your personal life, and the cumulative effects that it has on human beings in the long run. And most importantly, what do we do about it? We got to think about all these things. Personally, what happened to me is that sometimes I'm very busy with this and that, and then first thing that gets cut out naturally is sleep. But then I have an epiphany. Sometimes, if you want to do well at things and feel good, and actually perform more efficiently at things, you need to sleep. It's very obvious. But sometimes in the modern life we forget that. We drink too much coffee instead. According to a Harvard Medical School study in 2007, performance tests show so many negative effects when you are sleeping under the amount that you need to. There's so many negative effects to your mental cognitive functioning. This includes mathematical reasoning. It includes your ability to make decisions in general. It really negatively affects your reaction time. It affects your mood. This can disturb your relationships at work, at home. Nobody wants those kind of issues. How many of you here are going to go to work and say, wow, this person's doing great. They arrive drunk every single day. They're doing fantastic. They look like they're drunk every day. No. None of us would do that. It'd be a crisis. It would not be good at all for any of us if we have a worker like that. But when we push people so hard at times to get to that point, and some people work very, very long shifts in certain plant jobs or certain environments, or when they forget to sleep and they go on the car road for that long. Most tests are showing this, including this Harvard study, that you're performing just like you're really drunk when you're sleep deprived. We need to consider all these facts. And we need to also consider what's happening in the long run, the cumulative effect of when you sleep 5 to 6 hours a night, not the 7 to 9 that most of us adults should be getting. A study from the Harvard Business Review in 2006 shows that the cumulative effects on mental functioning after a week of 5 to 6 hours of sleep is just as bad to your performance in the long run. The cumulative cauldron of fatigue just seeps through your soul, and you really get a lot of issues again with your mental reasoning, your speed of reaction time, your ability to perform with mathematical reasoning, communication to others, and just your overall emotional stability and sanity with your mood can be affected, again, in a cumulative manner, just by having mediocre sleep for just a few days. It's really important that we take these facts into consideration. And there's so many issues that these Harvard studies are showing. So we all need to think about, what do we do about it? What do all of us do about it, this issue? Obvious thing is make time for it. Make time in your schedule to relax a little bit during the week and get a full night's sleep, because you're probably more likely to perform better rather than working or watching TV or playing games with your friends. You're more likely to perform better rather than spending an extra 2 hours doing that, cutting into the whole evening when you're during the work week. Do something relaxing instead. It's an obvious thing, but in terms of research, WebMD in 2005 shows that there was a study showing that there are several things that you can do to improve your sleep environment. One thing to tie into how you can make time to sleep better is have a certain schedule set. Before you go to bed, have a routine of doing something relaxing, such as listening to calm classical music, or reading an enlightening book that's not too overly stimulating. Different things like that help. Also, temperature in your room can affect it, the quality of your sleep. A lot of studies are showing, including this one, between 54 Fahrenheit to 74 Fahrenheit is an ideal temperature range to be sleeping in. So I hope I said Fahrenheit, 54 Fahrenheit and 74 Fahrenheit, because that would be quite warm in Celsius, indeed. And other major things too include dealing with trying to really make sure that your home is insulated, or that you're dealing with your noisy neighbors that are screaming at each other at the top of their lungs and arguing, in the middle of the night. You have to make sure that you're in communication with your neighbors about that stuff too. That's obvious. And then also dogs, things like dogs too, or cats, if they're sleeping on your bed, that can affect you with allergies, all sorts of issues. So there are a lot of different things you can do about it. Just make the time. And remember, when you snooze, you win. Thank you.
Now we get to evaluate and give Dennis some pointers for us. So everyone can do this. So that little piece of paper here that's looks like that. Just jot some things down for Dennis. We'd like you to put your name on it so he can stalk you later if he doesn't like your comments. But no, seriously, he could just talk to you. But just if you can go ahead and jot it in. And Mr. Timer, after you get the light, we could have 2 minutes.
Oh, sorry, yes. We've already gone.
Well, no, I was
Sorry now.
talking.
Sorry now.
Yep. Okay, everybody, wake up. You don't win at Toastmasters if you're asleep. Save it for later, save it for later. All right. Well, it looks like since we have the one speaker, Mr. Timer did our speaker qualify.
He did qualify.
All right.
Name is Dennis.
All right.
That's it. We don't have to vote.
Okay. So we don't have to vote. We do have a qualifying speaker, so I think we know who's going to be our best speaker for the evening, but we'll hold on to the suspense of that until a little later. Okay. Next, we have our general evaluator. No, our general evaluator, Art.
Yep.
Who will announce evaluation.
Good evening, Toastmasters and guests. My role is to conduct the evaluation portion of this meeting, and Dennis has an evaluator, Fraser Jones, whom I'd like to invite to come forward and give us his observations and evaluations of Dennis's talk.
Dennis' speech, "You snooze, you win," was extremely appropriate to all of us, to everybody on sleep deprivation. So let me go through the main evaluation points here. How well did the speaker topic apply to the audience? It was very applicable. Was the topic well researched? Yes, yes, it was. And how well did the speaker support his or her main points? He went through details showing that, well, it will help your reaction time and all that proper sleep. And he went through topics supporting that pretty good. And was the support material appropriate for the point made? Yes. Did the speaker vary the types of support material? Yes, he talked about the Harvard School Study and Harvard Business School and WebMD, so he used at least 3 sources. How clear was the speaker's purpose? It was very clear. Was the speech effectively organized? Yes, it was. Did the speaker take advantage of body language and vocal variety? He did. What could the speaker have done differently to improve the speech? Especially towards the end, he was addressing primarily this side of the audience. I think he could have, moved around a little more and addressed the whole audience, and he could also tie in the conclusion a little more to the beginning, his opening question was about how we feel, So he say you could tie it in and say you would all feel better if you take better, better rest. That kind of thing. And what did you like about the speech? Again, it was applicable to everybody. I mean, I went to sleep 3 o'clock last night, so I'm feeling the effects now. Yeah. So, yeah, that's it for the evaluation, and yeah, that's that, and I'll hand over to
Now we're moving on to a slightly different version of speaking before a group. That's extemporaneous speaking, what we call table topics. Here to run the table topics section of our meeting is Mr. Dan Craig.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, viewers at home. I just had an epiphany that I need to ask Jean to run the camera if she is available.
Well, you have someone on the camera.
Well,
Or the odd counter. Oh, okay. I'm having an epiphany.
There you go.
Okay.
all right. As has been briefly mentioned already, what we're doing at this point is called Table Topics. It's a chance to come up and speak for 1 to 2 minutes on a question you haven't heard until you come to the front of the room. It's different from a prepared speech, obviously, because a prepared speech you practice at home, and that's a certain way of thinking that you have to do. When you come up and you speak without any preparation, it's a different part of your brain that gets triggered. So that's also very useful, and it has application to real life where we might have to talk to somebody just off the cuff about something. I want to say that guests are quite encouraged to participate. I suggest that you let 1 or 2 of our members go first just to show you how it works. We have a theme of our meeting tonight. I don't have it right in front of me. I think it's overcoming defeat, and my questions tie into that at least loosely. And our camera person is having an epiphany. Actually, she's just having a raise my hand.
I'm just asking a question. You guys, do you want to alternate back and forth? So, because we don't know how long it's been. Sometimes you're done, like one person does a bunch, but if you go back and forth, it's sort of.
Why doesn't Susanna do the first? You do the odd speakers, if there are any odd speakers.
Yes.
So, members, particularly anybody who doesn't have a role, if there is anybody in the room, I don't think there is. So we'll take anybody. Anybody you'd like to come up and give it a try? Marco. I'd like you to describe an experience for us that you've had in which you succeeded in accomplishing something after more than one failure.
Fellow Toastmasters, viewers at home, guests, thank you. What I overcome after one or more failures. Once I started practicing martial arts, before that I was thinking I was strong because I was lifting and I was punching a bag, the bag that didn't punch me back, so I was thinking I was very strong. And there was a time that I was entered to spar for the first time. Somebody was a little younger than me, but he was practicing for a longer time. And I was feeling confident because a lot of my friends over there, so I was feeling strong and I'm going to show myself and how good I am and how strong I am. And after a few minutes, I was passing out. My blood was going from my nose and my mouth, and my nose was broken. I had an operation. That was the worst pain I ever had in my life. After that, I was scared to look boxing on TV. But I didn't let it stop me. My parents think I'm crazy because I decided to go back, and I wear that thing on my nose, and I went back to trainings. For a year, I will enter and I will spar with everyone. I didn't have my spar, every spar I have, I will keep my hands like this, just watching that nobody punch me in the nose, and I will get beaten so much. And after 1 year, after everybody beating me, because they know that the only way I'm going to get through that fear is to kick my ass. If they go easy on me, I will still continue to feed that fear. I had to say to myself, this is it, this is enough. And after that point, when that happened, I started punching back, and things turned around, so I become really good at it. So, thank you.
I want to mention that when you come up and you hear your topic, you can think about it for up to 30 seconds. That's what Marco did. He illustrated it for us. So you can think about it for up to 30 seconds before you begin to talk. Then you have 1 to 2 minutes. You've got 1 minute on your green light, 1.5 minutes on the yellow light, 2 minutes on the red light, and then you have another 30 seconds to wrap it up. One more member. Want to give it a try? Fraser. Have you ever heard Toastmasters described as a safe place to fail? Please discuss that idea.
Fellow members, visitors, yes, I have heard that term, Toastmaster, a safe place to fail, because they are very supportive when you fail. They tell you what you could do better next time, where the point, but they also point out what you did good, even if it might be very little or inconsequential. They do pull up something and tell you what you did good. And that sort of helps you, because even if you knew you did bad, right, they tell you how to do better, and at the same time also indicate to you what you did well. And that helps build your confidence so that next time you will do better. And in my case, I think I went through that and I have experienced that feeling safe and feeling okay to come back and do it. So that's all.
Okay, moving right along. I do want to invite any of the guests who are feeling brave to come up and give it a try. It's not required, but you might enjoy the terror. Anybody else? Who's another volunteer? Jean. Okay. Though we're told that failure is a milestone on the road to success, it's also true that failure is painful. What are the best first steps in beginning to try to work again toward our goal? So although we're told that failure is a milestone on the road to success, failure is painful. So please discuss any steps that can be taken to get restarted towards success.
Because you're in so much pain, but you got to keep doing something. Okay. Fellow Toastmasters, thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master, guests, and viewers at home. I have an example that I think I want to use. It's a little different, that was painful, and but was indicative of the fact that once you get going, sometimes you can't go back because you've already grown and you need to keep going. You can't go back, which is kind of a reassuring thing, actually. When I was in high school, I was selected, I tried out and was selected for a special tennis program during the winter. They pulled kids that seemed to show promise into a weekend program, and they were really working professionals with us to help us break down some of the things we were doing incorrectly and teaching us new techniques. And they took my serve, and they basically, if you play tennis, I was having a flat serve, so here's the racket. My hand was like this on the racket, and they turned the racket so that it was like this. So it was sideways, completely sideways. And I was doing my same serve motion, and I was often literally hitting the ball on the edge of the racket because they were trying to get me to get some spin on my ball. So there was this move that came through, and it was so frustrating, it was so painful because I'd play people, and normally serve was relatively decent, would go in, and I'd hit a ball and it could be flying over across to the next tennis court, and I wasn't winning, and I wasn't even coming close, and it was just so awkward. But then I thought, this isn't working, I need to go back to what works. And I couldn't get back there either. I was too messed up now. I was midway, and so there was pain, but I was forced to keep going because there was no going back. So I think the thing to know is that when you're in that pain of the failure, know that actually you are growing even if you don't quite feel that, and just keep going. You have to understand that, and then you'll arrive. Okay. Thank you.
I think we got time for two more. At least one more. We do have to have a pretty good amount of time at the end of the meeting to organize our contest. So the schedule says that we're going to end table topics at 8:37.
Yep.
Who next?
Yep, go to you guys.
All right. Could we have your name again?
Shivali.
Shivali?
Yeah.
Okay. Could you describe the value that defeats, losses, or defeats might have on the road to success? Describe the value that defeats might have on the road to success.
And what do you mean by defeat?
Failures. If you're trying for a goal and you don't achieve it, you failed. But if you try again, maybe you'll fail again. If you try again, maybe you'll finally succeed. What's the value of the defeats along the way? Can you think of any value that those could have in preparing you to succeed eventually?
Hello everyone and the visitors, including me. So the values of defeat for success. I have a friend, he faced the failure so many times, and the one thing that, according to me, values the most is support from family and friends. You know, if you fail and you don't see anyone with you who supports you, you will not get confidence to fight again. But if you have the confidence, if you have the support of friends and family, then there is something that takes you over that defeat. And that's the most important thing, according to me. Because when he got the support from everyone around him, that I could see that that got a different kind of confidence in him, in his way of, in his thinking, to fight again, and eventually he succeeded in that.
That's the last of our time, but Jean really wants at least one more person to go. Mr. President, do you feel like we are going to have enough time at the end to organize the contest?
We don't have too much to talk about, just recruiting a couple more people.
Okay,
We can, why not?
so one more guest, please.
Yeah.
All right, come on up. And your name again, please?
William.
William. I'm going to read a Japanese proverb. It says, fall 7 times and stand up 8. Fall 7 times and stand up 8. Please tell us what that means to you.
Okay, so I can start? Okay. Fall 7 times and stand up 8. Oh yes, members and guests and everyone. This Japanese proverb is really beautiful. It's the first time I've heard it, and I appreciate it because it sounds to me like it means you may fail 7 times at something, and then eventually you'll have success. And with that success, you may realize that the first 7 times were actually also contributing to your success, so therefore it could be considered a success. And what else to say? This shows the value of perseverance and consistency in your own, within yourself. Sometimes life throws these things at us to test us and to see if we really truly want something, and then eventually we'll get that thing, so long as we continue to try to achieve it, try to have it. And green light means I still have time, right? Okay. Yeah, well that's pretty much it.
All right, great.
Okay, at this point, we're going to see which of our table topic speakers qualified. Mr. Timer, could you tell us which speakers
So we've
qualified?
got Marco, we've got Fraser, we've got Jean, we've got Shivali, and we've got Will, all qualifying with tabletop, so we can vote for
All right.
tabletopics.
We're going to take just a minute. We've got the small slips of paper.
Marco, Fraser, Jean, Shivali, Will.
And just tear off the little section that says table topic speaker and write your choice for the winner of the table topic speeches. At this point, we're going to have the table topics evaluations, and as we said before, we're going to split that up among 2 people, Susanna and Lewis. How are we going to do the timing?
She'll go first.
Are we going to get 5 minutes total for the 2 of you? Or? Okay, Prana, can you track it that way? All the pieces that they do.
Okay.
Are you doing 3 people, Susanna?
Yes.
Okay, 2 to 3 minutes. Let's welcome up Susanna first.
Fellow members and guests, viewers at home, it's my pleasure tonight to evaluate 3 of our table topic speakers. First, Marco. Marco took time to consider what to say, which is very wise, and he thought of a rather dramatic example of working with failure and eventually turning it into success. He spoke very clearly. Sometimes Marco doesn't necessarily speak very clearly, or it's hard to hear. He's talking in a very conversational tone to the whole group, but this time he projected quite well. And he also used gestures very effectively to dramatize what he was going through. Oh, this is the most painful thing. I was wearing something on my nose. And I cowered, when I was in this feeling of failure, I was cowering, but I overcame that in time. And he had an excellent conclusion. So it's hard to think of something to really suggest to improve Marco's talk. I think at the end he could have perhaps talked a little bit more about how the success felt to him after all that time, and could have brought that out a little bit more, which would have left everybody with a very uplifted feeling, perhaps a little more than was already the case. All right, but all together, excellent talk. Jean also had a very interesting angle, beautiful content for your talk, Jean. You really beautifully illustrated the conundrum that we're sometimes in when we're growing from one state to another. And at the beginning, trying to move to the new level, things that were working before stop working, but if we persist, we eventually get the point of the change that we're trying to make. So it was a very effective way of describing that phenomenon that we all face often. And using the example of the tennis experience was a very good example for illustrating that. So it was a clear point of learning for the audience. Really excellent table topic talk. And thinking of a way to improve it, I'm not so sure. Will, brave, beginning, very graceful entree into the talk, making 2 or 3 very good points, which was all the time that you had, all you really needed, and then concluding with the value of perseverance. Very good in beginning talk. Thank you. And now my colleague is going to evaluate the other speakers.
Thank you. Club members, viewers at home, and our guests, it's always great to do tag team table topic evaluation. So first of all, I have some categories that I'm going to use for the 2 people I'm evaluating. 30-second time to think. Okay, Fraser, yes, you took your 30 seconds, and Shivali, you took yours also. It's really important because this is a mini speech. So you have to think in your mind, okay, what's my introduction? What are my points? What's my conclusion? Both of you greeted the audience. And both of you answered the question. It wasn't mentioned. You can actually go off in a totally different direction if you want in table topics, but you chose to answer the question, both of you. And I like that. However, I think it's good for both of you to actually repeat the question. The question before us is, and then repeat it. That gives you a little bit of an introduction without taking very much time. Conclusion. Okay. I thought both of you were weak in your conclusion. I think there's a tendency to look at the light and, okay, when that green comes on, I'm out of here. But the conclusion to a speech is the takeaway. It's what do you want the audience to come away with from what the answer to your question. So I'd like to see you can repeat the question again. We've been talking about defeat and how to overcome it. And then challenge the audience. Is there some place in your life where you can be stretching and overcoming defeat right now in your life? I encourage you to do that. What did I like? Fraser, I like the fact that you actually related it to your own experience. And you said, in my case, Toastmasters did such and such. That was wonderful. It's always good to bring some things out of your own experience. Make it personal. And Shivali, you did the same thing because you were talking about your family and your friends, supporting your friend, making it very much about what you went through to help this person. What can be improvement? Shivali, I really would have liked to have known what was your friend struggling with. I'm sitting there like, what was he being defeated? What was he on? So try to bring more detail, more flavor to what you're speaking about. Fill in the blanks. And Fraser, you sort of had good eye contact, but on the other hand, I'm not sure you did. And I can't tell if you're like looking at people or looking out into space. So for me, eye contact is actually contacting people's eyes. And I'd like to see you, I challenge you to do that more. And let's see. And you could have, not necessary, but you could have given a little more details about how Toastmasters allows us to overcome defeat. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Mr. General Evaluator, please come on up.
I was thinking that was the call. Now is the time for our role players to give reports. Ah, yes. We have multiple evaluators to vote. As the general evaluator, I should be on top of that. Mr. Timer,
Yes, Mr. General
do
Evaluator.
the evaluators, Fraser, Susanna, and Lewis, do they all qualify from timer's perspective?
Fraser, Susanna, and Lewis. So Fraser does qualify, Susanna does qualify, and Lewis also qualified. Yes, so all three evaluators qualified. Their names were Fraser, Susanna, and Lewis. Please vote.
Very good. So we can use this section of our ballots to vote for the best evaluator of the evening. Now it is time to hear from our role players. We have 1-minute reports, each from the timer, grammarian, counter. Mr. Timer,
Yes.
could we hear?
General Evaluator. Dennis Gomez was 6 minutes 45 seconds, and Leslie wasn't here. Marco Yannick, 1 minute 59 seconds. Fraser, 1 minute 43. Jean, 2 minutes and 28. Shivali, 1 minute and 30. Will, 1 minute 45. Fraser, and now this is the evaluator section. Evaluation, we had Fraser at 3 minutes, which was right on the red. Susanna at 3 minutes and 29 seconds, which is, I think she had an epiphany, just decided to stop right there, right before the red light. And then Lewis was 3 minutes, right on the time. So yeah, that's my report. And
Okay, we heard table topics times for.
yeah, Dennis was 6 minutes. Yeah, so table topics was 6:45, and then, or I'm sorry, Dennis was 6:45. Then we had all the table topics, and then the speech evaluators. So everybody was there. Yep.
If we could hear from our grammarian this evening, Michael, would you?
Yes. So. Thank you. For tonight we have quite a bit of people using word epiphany. Dennis started first. Prana, Craig, Jean. That's what I catch. Maybe somebody else used it as well, but I think.
How many?
How many?
How many did each person use?
I didn't count how many.
Quantity is important.
Okay, I didn't know that. This is my first time being grammarian, so it's a stretch for me. Yeah. So some phrases that I catch. I tried. There were some beautiful phrases that, by the time I wanted to write it down, I forget it how it was. So I was like, oh my god, I should record that. But Dennis said, there's a lot of things you can do about it, but main one, he was referring to the things that you can do. You set up the environment, things that. I said the main one is make time for it. And that really resonated with me. Fraser said, he says, even if you knew you did bad, he was referring to the environment in the Toastmasters. He said, you know they support you and help you to become better. Jean says, sometimes when you're going forward, you grow and you cannot go back anymore. Shivali said, if you have support of friends and family, you can overcome any defeat. So that was something. William said something really also powerful. He said, sometimes life throws things at us to test us and see do we really want it. And Suzanne said, beautifully illustrated. She was referring to Eugene. She said, beautifully illustrated growth from one phase to another. And Louis said, conclusion to a speech is a giveaway. So I found that amazing. Thank you.
Now let's hear from our counter.
Ryan, I'm sorry, 5 uhs, 1 1 so, 1 and. Jean, 2 uhs, 1 you know, 1 repeat. Fraser, 3 uhs, 3 ums, 2 you knows, 7 repeats. Dennis, 2 repeats, 1 false start. Shivali, 4 uhs, 1 you know, 1 and. William, 2 uhs, 3 ums. Susanna, 1 so, 1 and, 1 repeat. Thus concludes my report. Thank you.
I recommend that everybody who was just named not consider those as defeat, but as a learning opportunity for how to speak next time with fewer of those filler words. Eventually, you get victory, which is the counter saying that you spoke and it was clean. You didn't catch anything. Everybody in the room who's, may I see a show of hands if you've ever been told that your speaking was clean by the counter. It's a great feeling, isn't it?
You describe it.
That's victory. Okay, it's time for the Greeter Joke Master. I think I won that particular bid. It's a situation where a middle-aged couple decides they need a new furniture suit, and they go and they're looking at a suite of furniture at the furniture store. It's a little over $1,000, and the salesman is very helpfully saying, well, you can get this suite of furniture immediately by making you make a small down payment, and you don't pay anything for 6 months. And the wife looks at him and says, who told you about us? It appears that that one
Come to backup.
Backup.
Okay. Okay.
Come on.
Brian Brano.
All right. I mean, it was good.
I still don't get on to think about it.
Struggling. Okay, here we go. Backup joke in the center of attention. Okay. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a short joke for you. I'm going to actually give you an option. Would you like...
No, don't.
No options. Okay, victory. The theme of the meeting is victory. So, we're going to go with, there were 3 people. I might have told this joke already, if not.
Tell the joke.
There were 3 people. There's an executioner, right? He's taking care of some business. There's 3 people. They've done some things, and there's a pastor, right? Pastor goes up. He puts his head down on the axe, and you know the axe comes down, and the guy says, "You're lucky. You know the axe stops halfway." And he says, "You lived a good life. You must have been a great person." He's like, "Yeah, I was a pastor, you know." So he walks away. The next person walks up, and he puts his head down. He is a rabbi. No, he's not a rabbi. He's a rabbi. He's a rabbi, Jewish rabbi. And he's like, he has his head underneath the axe. The axe comes down, stops halfway, and the executioner says, "You lived a great life. You may go." You know, he's just, "What's going on? What's going on with this axe?" The third guy walks up, puts his head down. He's an he's an engineer. He puts his head down. He looks at the axe. He looks at the axe. And before the guy pulls the string, he says, "Yeah, I can fix that." Thank you. All right. Tag team joke master.
Okay. Now for a few brief observations about the evaluators. Fraser evaluated Denny's using the manual and the points in the manual. I observed that one of the questions in the manual was, did Dennis use various types of various source types? And in my opinion, you lost the opportunity to suggest a variety of source types that he could have used rather than Harvard Medical School, Harvard Business Review. It was all Harvard.
WebMD. It was WebMD.
He did use WebMD. You had a suggestion for what he could have done differently, and you spoke about what he liked. So it was a good evaluation from the perspective of encouraging Dennis and offering something tangible that he could change that, in your opinion, would improve it, such as addressing all sides of the room. Susanna greeted the audience. She had a suggestion for Marco. She observed the things that he did well, the projection, the gestures that he used to illustrate cowering. You had no suggestion for Jean, but you did point out the positives, all of the gestures that she used to illustrate the difficulty she was having adopting the new serving technique. And one of the things that I enjoyed most about your evaluation of William was the fact that as a very novice table topic speaker, you focused solely on praising what he did well and didn't offer any observations about what could have been done better, because it really was a remarkably good table topic speaker for one who has never done that before. Lewis, he used an interesting technique. He had an observation, the same observation about both Savali and Fraser, that they both greeted the audience, that they both chose to answer directly, that he had two suggestions for each of them. He had an observation about what he liked, which was that they each used a personal story in illustrating their points. And he had a specific suggestion for Fraser about eye contact. So these were good, solid evaluations and involved some observations about what was done well, some tangible suggestions about what could be changed, in Lewis's opinion, that would have strengthened the evaluation. Now it would be time for me to return the gavel to the Toastmaster.
All right, we have some winners tonight. Of course, now that we've been in suspense on who's going to be our best speaker, I can break that suspense and say, Dennis Coleman! Oh, tough. All right. Our best evaluator is, drum roll. No, okay, the drum roll is this way. Clapping the drum roll, yeah. Lewis! All right. Wait. What did I give you? That's. Oh, I Okay, anyway, best evaluator, yay, he's the best evaluation of the And our best table topics speaker, drum roll. Margot! I don't know about you guys, is there anyone kind of looking at Marco's nose a little differently now since that story? I'm just kind of zoned in.
There's bone broken.
Oh,
on the other
gosh,
side.
you know, I'm just sort of, yeah. It's-
Not
So
good.
sorry I left my boxing gloves.
Not a good feeling.
Yeah. All right, so that was all excellent. And now it looks like it's time to invite our president back up. We have some club business, and then we can close out the meeting. All right, Dennis. Oh, let me just mention, sorry, there's one more ribbon. As you're going through the Competent Communicator Manual, Dennis has completed his 7th speech, researcher topic, and you know, it's really, didn't you notice that you can see how having those skills will serve later, how to go and solidify and add credibility to what you're saying by being able to get outside sources and experts and stuff. It's a tool.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. There you go. Yes, all right, let's go.
Thanks everybody for your participation. I appreciate it. First of all, let's go over some business quickly about the contest for next week. First thing to know is time. We need everybody who is going to be a role player, a judge, or a competitor to be showing up at 7 p.m. by 7 p.m. next week. So clock time 7 p.m. Registration is another way for saying it. Be here by 7 p.m. so that we can get everybody in order and shape. And so far, Louis, you're still willing then to be chief judge? Okay, so that'll be good because then you'll be organizing judges then. So we'll be having half an hour for everybody to get settled in their role. After that, one thing very importantly we need a few more roles. We could use more judges in general, but we need also timers. We need a timer. We need a backup timer. We need a sergeant of arms. We need a backup for sergeant of arms, which actually I believe we already have a volunteer, our official club sergeant of arms, Fraser Jones, has kindly volunteered himself. So we need a backup sergeant of arms still. So 3 positions we need. Is there anybody else volunteering for timer, backup timer, or sergeant? Well, we have sergeant of arms, so that's taken care of. So timer, backup timer, anybody volunteer?
Who's here from the club that doesn't have a role yet?
Okay. So I think
We do that
we'll have to look out
Do it online.
for everybody online. Yeah.
So Prana, you're in the
I'm the
contest
speaker.
and you're the target,
Target.
Yes, how do I can't be
Right.
a timer or a judge or
you know? No,
I mean,
I think I'll reach out to everybody. And
he could
yes.
be a timer
I can do
once,
both.
if someone did the first timing.
Okay.
You can
Yeah, I think I'll reach out to Kashif. A couple guys who haven't. There's a couple guys who haven't been here for a couple meetings, so
Yeah,
I'll reach out to them.
Time to go.
Okay. Dan, did you have an announcement to make also?
Yeah.
You do.
So we're coming down the home stretch here.
I'll let you stay up here. This is very quick. I'm treasurer for the club. It's my joy to advise you that it's time to pay the dues for the 6-month period beginning October 1st. We pay $10.50 a month, so that means the 6 months dues is $63. Is that right?
That's right.
Good. We have to get them paid before the end of the month in order to achieve the goal of paying our dues on time. That's an important part of our getting the Distinguished Club. So I'll be reminding you regularly if anybody has methods of payment tonight. I'd be glad to take it. I can also take a credit card. If we do take a credit card, we charge you $2 for cover the service charge.
I don't charge $2, so you can give me the credit card.
Marco's got some kind of side.
Thank you, Dan. Since we are running short of time, Marco will have a brief announcement for us, and then after that we will wrap up our meeting.
It's not good. It's like feeling good. I just want to say thank you. It's been such a wonderful pleasure and journey being in this club. I really enjoyed it. I did get to know some of you a little better, some of you not so much, but it was such a great time, and I know it's all great people. This club really attracts great people. You guys, if you decide to join, I warmly welcome you to do that. You're going to have so much fun and you're going to grow as well. I do, through my personal reasons and my family reasons, I made a decision to move back to Philadelphia. So I'm going to be leaving this Sunday and officially moving to Philadelphia. I'm not coming back not having plans to come back, but maybe visiting, who knows, in the future. So we'll see. But yeah, definitely, it's been such a grateful journey. Great journey. I'm so grateful, and there's no words to describe how this club is so much fun. Every meeting is different, so it's not like every time it's different. And every time you experience something new and just have fun and grow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marco. It's been great having you on the team. We always appreciate your positive attitude and
Thank you, Mr.
everything
President.
you're bringing along. And
Thank you, Mr.
your
President.
enthusiasm.
I see this
Thank
club
you.
going only up.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yep, so we wish all the best for you in Philadelphia and the family. On that note,
One thing they liked, one thing our visitors like
Okay.
asked.
yeah.
Just one
Yeah,
thing.
and briefly,
Just one thing.
visitors, guests, hopefully future members, can you please talk briefly about one thing that you enjoyed about the meeting?
One thing that you liked.
One thing that I like is the lightness and cheerfulness between the structured routine and all that, and that makes me feel good inside, you know.
One thing that I liked is when I stood there and when I spoke, after that, I felt a certain amount of increase in my confidence, and you can fail as many times as you want here because there are people to support you and you'll succeed when you go there, I'd say.
Family to support you to overcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just appreciate all the positivity in the room and everyone's individual personality, and everyone's comfortable with just being themselves here, and it feels like a safe place. That's more
It's been great having you guys. Thank you for your participation. Really enjoyed your speeches and what you have to say. We hope to see you guys back.
Yes.
On
If
that
you'd like
note,
to speak to somebody about joining, come talk to the Vice President of Membership right here, please. Anybody?
Yes, good.
he's always
There we
available.
go.
Connor's a friendly guy.
There we go.
He knows everybody.
And you also, if you want to learn some jokes.
Visit us many times.
You don't
Yeah.
have to become a member, you just become a guest. Become a guest.
But the rubber hits the road when you become a member.
We'll be back.
That's it. That's it.
Okay. For roll members, remember, get it signed. You can complete your leadership manual. On that note, this meeting is adjourned.